Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is part of Backstage's digital slate of we're bringing out content to help you guys as actors and performers to stay motivated and positive and inspired during this time. And we're doing loads of events with casting directors and agents and acting coaches. So I'm sure you're going to learn a lot today from Lauren, and we've had some really incredible feedback from other sessions as well. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to introduce you to Lauren. So I'm sure I posted this out on Twitter this morning. I was just saying to Lauren, and it went a little bit viral. So I'm sure you all know who Lauren is, and that's why you're here. Lauren's a casting director. She's worked in casting for many years alongside some of the most amazing casting directors in the UK. She's helped out on Game of Thrones, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Theory of Everything, The Imitation Game, King Lear, Mr. Turner, and The Danish Girl. And she's now working as a casting director and cast Sex Education. I thank you very much for that. And she also cast the Christmas special of Gavin and Stacey. She also worked with Nina Gold alongside her for Paddington 2 and Taboo. So hi, Lauren.
Hello, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Lauren is a fellow Welshie, so I probably get a little bit more Welsh in this one.
Yeah, me too.
Bring it out of me a little bit. Well, thanks so much for doing this. How have you been? Like, how are things in your world at the minute?
Oh, yeah, quite chaotic actually. I find that lockdown life is a bit busier than normal life. Because still working, which is great, but so is my partner, who's a teacher, and I've got a 2.5-year-old who needs constant entertaining and stimulation. So trying to juggle all that, and also being at home, you know, when you're at home and you can't get anything done because you've got to do the dishwasher or the washing machine or the cooking. Yeah. So it's pretty nuts, but all good.
I find so many, I work from home mostly anyway, but I find so many distractions. It's quite amazing where your brain can go.
Absolutely. I think I got an office last year at Ealing Studios just to get away from the temptation of putting on a wash or hanging up the washing and doing all that terrible stuff.
Nice. I used to work in Ealing Studios. That's cool. Good place.
Very good. Really good.
What about your projects then that you were working on? Like what's happened with those?
So I was on 2 TV series. One was the 3rd season of The Girlfriend Experience, which is an American TV series. That was 2 weeks away from shooting. So we're in a pretty good place with that in terms of our cast. So that's just stopped for a moment until we get a date and the green light to go ahead. And then I was in very early prep for Sex Education season 3. So we started meeting a couple of people. We'd done a couple of director sessions, but we weren't in a position to put any offers out or do, you know, all the casting that we wanted to do. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to continue at home. So getting self-tapes in from actors, trying to look through new grads, which is what I would have been doing if we had the freedom to do that. And just trying to carry on as best we can, pretty much, so that we're in a good place to move ahead when the time comes.
So what will happen with, so if you've got your actors in place for certain things, what's the state of affairs with, like, if people are going to become unavailable, or like, I can imagine when we go back to filming, it's going to be like, whoosh, everyone needs to be like available for one thing or like several things. So
that's it. I suppose it's going to be a big, I think we've got to be prepared for anything, because everyone seems available, but no one is truly, because we don't know where everything's going to slot in. So it's just going to be a lot of chatting, checking, stressing, but it'll all work itself out. And I hope that because we've had all this time and everyone's so raring to get back to work, that everyone will really pull together to make sure that we can make everything work and really go the extra mile to fit things in as best we can, so that everyone gets as good a deal as possible, really.
Yeah.
You know, if you can make one day work alongside someone else doing another shoot would be ideal.
I really think that's going to happen, you know, because the sense of camaraderie, I mean, Backstage are doing all these events, casting directors are so willing and like happy to give up their time to help out actors to, you know, stay inspired and all that stuff at the moment. And there's a lot of camaraderie going on in the industry at the moment. So I feel like that is probably what's going to happen.
I hope so. Well, we love actors. We need them for our jobs. So, of course, we're all going to try and pull together and do what we can. And the sooner that happens, the better. Obviously, when it's safe to do so. But
Yes.
we're all just gagging to get back to work.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a sign that you love your job, so it's good.
Exactly.
So speaking of, I would love to hear about how you got into casting. Like, where did you begin and why, and what drew you to it?
I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know how you did it. I had no clue. But my brother and I used to recast shows like Les Mis with our friends and say, who would play Javert? Who would play Valjean? Or we cast ourselves in Dirty Dancing, and my brother would always be Patrick Swayze, and I'd always be, you know, those little ladies at the end who used to whip off their fur. I'd be in like the back. But we'd always try and recast things. And then I went to work as an assistant agent for a Welsh young performers agency, Mark Jermyn.
Oh yeah, cool.
I was there, and then I moved to London to open his London office. And then it was through chatting with casting offices all day, every day, I thought, that seems really interesting, and I wonder if I could get into that. And then I think I emailed or I sent hard copy letters to everyone. There used to be a book called Contacts.
Yeah.
I had all the casting directors' names and addresses, and I sent everyone a letter, and I got one response from Kate Dowd, who offered me an internship. And my first job there was World War Z, which starred Brad Pitt, and he also produced it. So that was my first foray into casting. And then I did 8 months there, and then I went to Nina's, and I stayed there.
Amazing. You were with Nina for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there for 6 years.
Oh, wow. And it was there that you worked on Star Wars and Game of Thrones and...
Yeah, I did all that there, which was just the best experience ever, to work on all these incredible projects with these incredible people, and the best training I could ever ask for.
Yeah, I can imagine. What were the things that you really stood out for you that you learned? Like, what were the real lessons you learned from working with Nina?
Oh God, everything. I mean, she taught me everything I know. I think just to have it was sort of to tailor your taste and be confident in your thoughts and feelings towards actors, and also the way to present your thoughts to people so that you don't feel overpowering, which I'm not great at, as many people tell me. I'm quite direct. I think the work ethic, you know, if you want to do well, you've got to put in the time and really commit to this job. It's quite a tough industry. It's really fast paced. It's long hours. And I learned pretty much everything, as in how to do deals, how to make lists, how to speak to agents, how to call American agencies, you know, and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then, so how did you get from the point where you were working with Nina on all these great things to going out on your own? I feel like I know the story already, but yeah, how did that happen?
I never wanted to work on my own. I always found it a really terrifying prospect, and I didn't really fancy it because I like to work as part of a team. And I would love that there was a few of us in the room that we'd all just sit and chat and throw ideas out there and say, oh, who would you cast for this? Or I'm looking for someone for this, can you help me out? So I never wanted to do it, but I got pregnant and I was going to go on maternity leave in September with a view to going back. In what capacity I wasn't sure, because for that office you need someone who can really commit to it, and I knew that my new role as a mother I wouldn't be able to, and I don't know how, but luckily I got offered sex ed. I said, do you want to come and meet on this Netflix show? I was like, yes. My child was 8 weeks, and I remember just lying and saying, oh, I'm not really needed. I've got grandparents who love to come around, and I'm, you know, she doesn't really need me. I just lied, and then started on that job when she was 4 months old, which was insane. But I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything.
Oh my gosh. So
yeah,
sex education is what you're most known for as a casting director. I would really, and I'm sure everybody else in here would really love to know about the process, because they're so, and I've seen some of your other work as well, as you as an individual. I actually watched The Orgy, the short.
I love that film.
Oh my God, it's so good. I saw it at a film festival last year, I think, and absolutely loved it. And it's the same thing with sex education. They're all so individually strong and unique and just incredible characters, and the actors are perfect for them, the way that they're developed. But also as an ensemble, the way that you've pulled them together is really exciting. So yeah, I just wanted to hear a little run through of how you cast it with so many new breakout stars. What was the process like?
Well, we were really lucky starting off that we were given that freedom to cast a lot of people who were unknowns, which is really refreshing, because it wasn't something we didn't have to satisfy, the bankable actor to sell the show. We're quite a low budget show, and what we had at the heart of it was just we wanted really talented people. So it just meant doing a massive search, huge search, and not just the theatrical agencies. It was, National Youth Theatre, drama groups, weekend drama sessions, swim clubs, rugby clubs, looking for jocks and head boys and things. And it was just about meeting a lot of people, and I suppose being confident with your instincts, that you know who to sort of push forward and who you can maybe dismiss sort of quite early on, if that makes sense. Because it's our job as well to start to filter it through to then the next stage to the team and present your selects, as it were, so that you're not putting forward hundreds of people for them to look at. So that was really cool. Really interesting to meet a lot of new people, and people who maybe didn't get in the series have now gone on to do incredibly well, which is really cool.
And how do you, so when you were seeing actors and non-actors, if you go into, like rugby clubs and things like that, what is it that you saw in certain people that made you want to continue with them, even if they didn't nail it straight away? Was there do you have a formula for what that is?
There's always there's a sort of spark of potential, or you think they may be a good actor, but maybe that part's not right for them. Because as you're going along and getting people in, you're also sort of assessing whether your approach to the role is right. And as you start to bring people in, you can tend to adjust your thinking on the character from what you're getting in the room, if that makes sense. But there were people who met on certain roles that they didn't get those roles, but we kept them in mind for others. For example, Amy Lou Wood met for Lily, and then we cast her as Amy. And I think Patricia Allison came in for Kate, Lily, Amy, and then we cast her as Ola, because we just knew she had this fantastic energy, and a sort of lovely, subtle style of delivery, and we wanted to include her somewhere, and we just had to find the right fit. Amazing.
So how long was that process then overall?
It wasn't actually that long. It was about 3 months.
Oh wow, that's a
it was quite a quick turnaround. But some people we found, really quickly. Connor Swindells, for example, I knew of him before. I cast him in with Nina in Harlots, but I wasn't sure if he could do comedy. But he came in. He was one of the first people to meet for Adam, and he absolutely nailed it. And then we got him in for a director session as well. And I think that was it was an easy sell, but then other characters took a few more weeks or even months. And especially when you're trying to find, then as you're sort of going along and piecing it together, you're trying to find people who fit well together and that it feels inclusive, and a true reflection of our sort of society and things. So all that comes into play as well. So I think we had about 3 months.
Wow. So is there anyone that is in the principal cast that was found through those different avenues rather than going?
No, I think the closest person we have to someone that hadn't done anything before is Emma Mackey. So she was found, I think someone recommended her to Curtis Brown, the agency, from a screen class that she'd been doing in town. and said, this girl's really good, you should probably check her out. But she hadn't done anything, and she didn't have any headshots. She just had I think like a black and white shot that someone had taken of her. And Maeve we found really difficult. It was such a difficult part to find, and everyone came in and put their own spin on it, and it was really interesting, but we just didn't feel like we'd found it. And then she came in, and I remember Ben Taylor's face. He was like a giddy schoolboy, and we shut the door on her, and he was like,
oh my god, that's so nice.
Yeah, because it took us a while to find her.
Wow. So when you're seeing everyone read individually and going through those different avenues, how do you get to the point where you bring, like, are you doing lots of chemistry tests and things like that to make sure people are working together?
Yeah, we really put them through the ringer, poor things. But because it's a relationship show, we have to get them in together. And I think we did a couple of different pairings as well, because we had a few front runners for each role. And then it's all about chemistry. Because they've got to work so closely, and we really have to believe it. So we brought some people back 5-6 times.
Wow.
Yeah, and they would see, like, it was like X Factor. There were so many people in the room. I mean, incredibly supportive people, but lots of us sort of sat there just watching, waiting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Have you got any advice that you would give to those actors in that type of situation, which is quite a bit of pressure?
Oh my God, it's so much pressure. It's sort of the same advice I give to any castings. Don't psych yourself out. Just relax yourself as much as you can, and we are there working with you. And I think actors often come in thinking that we're there to test them or judge them, or catch them out. I don't know. Or I think they feel like they're coming in and straight away they have a mindset that they're competing against others, where I think they just need to take stock of what they're doing themselves, get themselves to a really calm, relaxed place where they can do their best work, really prepare well, and work with us and ask us questions.
Yeah.
Because we're not terrible people, mostly.
Definitely not. So you are obviously from Wales. We've already mentioned this. I know that you've lived in London for quite a few years, and that's where casting directors tend to circulate. But I know that we have a lot of actors, especially on Backstage. We've got a really big community in London, but we've got loads regionally as well. And I wondered, and also we have loads of people in the US, I should say. So
great.
They might not be in New York or LA. So yeah, I just wanted to see if you had any tips or advice for actors who weren't in like the central spot, for how they can be seen or opportunities, like, yeah.
Yeah, I think nowadays where self-tapes are becoming more of the norm, is absolutely, you don't have to be based in London, because everyone understands the pressures of living in London, the cost and all that sort of stuff. So I think as long as your self-tape approach is good, you're great. We often cast people from self-tapes because we understand as well, even if you were based in London, people also have lives, or doctor's appointments, or childcare that they can't sort. So not everyone can make the 15-minute appointment you've given them the day before. So we absolutely get it. I think just yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the same approach as anyone who's based in London. Send your CV and headshot out. Keep yourselves busy and trying to, fine tune your craft by self-taping yourself at home, watching it back, seeing what you think works and what doesn't, and all that sort of stuff, really.
And like right now is such a perfect time for all of that to be developing all of those skills, but also like from this shit show that we're going through at the moment, we are all like casting people are developing their own processes for dealing with self-tape. So I feel like it's only going to increase anyway. So it's probably
absolutely. Yeah, I think so. And I think as well with now there's so much demand for content that casting directors get, sort of overwhelmed with, especially with things like sex ed. The searches are huge, so you can't always be present. You can't get enough people in of a day, so you have to then make sure that you're getting enough tapes in as well, and make sure that enough people have the opportunity to tape, which you can't necessarily provide in person. So yeah, I think it's a good way to move forward, that we all get used to more self-tapes, but also I don't want to ever shut the door on being in the room, because I personally love that part as well.
Yeah. Wicked. What about self-tape tips then? Do you have any for people who might be wanting to practice, or if they have got some requests at the moment?
Yeah, I think always never read directly down the lens, always just to the side of it. If you've got someone else that you need to focus on, go to the other side of the lens so that you're not going into profile, because we always lose all the lovely work that actors are doing. This sort of shot is great, rather than something that's really far away and we can barely see your face. Usually a full length shot at the beginning, or some sort of ident, even in a separate clip if you want to, is good, which is just name, agent if you have one, and your height, and a full length shot so that we can see. And that's pretty much it, really. And it's always difficult to have a successful self-tape if you don't have someone reading the lines. Even if you have to record it yourself and play it back, I think there's certain softwares that you can use now, but when you don't have anyone reading the lines back at all, I'll always find that quite difficult.
It's quite jarring, and it's really difficult for you to, as an actor, to make a connection to a recording, because you're waiting for the line, which is obviously the thing that we don't want to look like we're doing. But somebody mentioned the other day, which I think is really good tip, especially for now, is to Zoom or Skype somebody who also has the sides, and then so you can work with them, which I've never thought about before.
That's so good. I've seen people who do it and they put their friend on speakerphone. It's great because it's instant, especially if it's an actor friend. You know, sometimes Granny puts people off if they're a little bit monotone or they don't understand the scenes. But I think sometimes if you don't have anyone reading, you're just reading your lines, then someone who's watching the tapes later down the line who might not be as familiar with the script or whatever, it's just, it's a little bit difficult to take that.
Yeah. So with what you've said about a little ident at the beginning, I know an actor, and she just has an iMovie app on her phone. So if you want to cut that together, because sometimes I think they think maybe I should send over one file with an ident and then one file with my reading, or how am I going to do that? But it's super easy to use the iMovie app, which I've just discovered as well.
Perfect. And if you can't, a separate one is absolutely fine, because we don't mind having to put it on the end or just upload as 2 separate takes. But whatever you can do, we understand that people have sort of limitations with technology. I'm certainly one of them. So it's absolutely fine. I suppose some people sometimes send an ident that is part of the scene at the beginning, and that goes on for about 15 minutes talking about their life story, and that's when it's quite difficult, because all you want to do is just skip to the actual scene. So just keep it brief.
Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna go, because we've already got a ton of questions, which I'm gonna try and get to everyone, but right now is a great time for you to send them. So please send me questions. If you hover down the bottom, there's a little chat thing that comes up at the side, and I'm gonna get to as many as I can. So, okay. Charlie Ree has asked, do you take drama school into consideration when you're casting? And if so, what schools are seen as great by casting directors?
No, it's not a thing whereby you have to have trained to be eligible for a part. You're good or you're not, basically. But I think drama training is great for some people who want it, and what you learn there is invaluable, and even for sort of life skills is great. And I don't know, I sort of like all the schools, you know, Scottish Conservatoire, Welsh Coll, Lambda, Guildhall, Alra, E15, Tally Conti. They're all brilliant, and they all bring out fantastic actors, but equally you don't have to train either. There's plenty of other avenues.
Great. Archer has asked, my question is Lauren still cast in season 3 of Netflix? Yes, yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
Yes, great. And did you say how far along you are at the moment? Like, is there any opportunities that people might be able to see? Are you going wide with anything that you're looking for at the moment?
I don't actually have a lot of roles at the moment, but because we're season 3 and obviously we have a lot of established cast who are coming back as well, a few briefs have gone out on Spotlight at the moment. And if people email in with their CV and headshot and I feel like they're right for a part that I have, I always get them to Selftape. So please do email me your CVs and headshots for me to keep on file, but there might not necessarily be anything for you that you're right for at this point.
So that's a question that we've had quite a few of, is if somebody doesn't have an agent and they are interested in showing you their work, can they reach out to you directly, and what do you like to see when they do that?
Yeah, I get loads of requests on Twitter actually, because I'm quite elusive. I don't have anything available online, which is terrible. But I should probably put something out there. But yeah, I'm happy for people to message me and say, I would like to send you something. Can I have your email? And then the CV outline, link to your show reel, whatever you feel is strongest, but something that's sort of nice, clear and concise without loads and loads of attachments. Yeah, basically is always quite good. Yeah.
Amazing. Somebody has asked, how many people do you usually see for one role?
It all depends. It all depends on how we do with the first couple that we see. As I said, with the role of Adam, we didn't have to see that many. And then for Maeve, we really did. So it all depends. It could be anything from 10 to 100. Yeah.
Cool. Rudy Simpson has asked, do you prefer scenes or monologues? So I'm guessing, yeah.
Scenes for me, because monologues feel a bit more theatrical. So, and it tends to heighten sometimes people's performances just because of the way it's written. So I tend to prefer scenes for screen work.
Great. So I've already done that one. Oh, this is nice. What is your self-care routine as a mother in the industry?
Zero. There is nothing. I did put on little eye masks today, although I tried to take them off. But at the moment, there's nothing because there's no escape. You can't get away. So I tried to start listening to podcasts a little bit when I have a bit of time out. And I'm loving Gossip Mongers with Joe Wilkinson and David Earl. If anybody's listened to it, it's hysterical.
Oh, I haven't listened to it. I'm an absolute podcast junkie, so I will have to check that out. I don't really listen to any funny ones though, so that's a good tip.
That's a good one, yeah. But otherwise, if anyone has got any ideas for good self-care, please send them my way.
Need them at the moment, so do I. Yeah. Pippa Winslow has asked, is it okay to send more than one take on a self-tape?
Yeah, I think it is, because obviously everyone's interpretation is subjective. I think as long as they're different, you know, if they're both fairly similar, then don't worry about it. But if you've got 2 different takes, that's great. I think maybe stop at 2. Though, I mean, you can do as many as you want and whittle it down yourselves and then send 2 and maybe write the reason for sending the 2 different takes.
Yeah, great. Josh Burton has asked, sorry, I'm like quick firing the hell out of you right now.
Go for it.
I've just we've got like 100 messages, so please don't be disheartened if I don't read them out. I'm really trying. Josh Burton asked, do you use people that you've had workshops with in the past?
Yes, I do. And I always love that because I don't do them anymore because I don't have the time, but I used to love it. There's such a lovely sense of camaraderie, like you were saying earlier on, when you're all together in a room, sort of willing each other to do really well. And I have cast people from workshops. I remember casting Nick Harris years ago in Taboo after seeing him in a workshop, thinking, why isn't this man working? He's so good. So yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Do you still do workshops, Lauren? No time.
I wish. No, I don't have the time.
Have you got any recommendations for ones that you've been involved in that were great for you?
Yeah, I used to do mixing Networks, is it still called that? Mixing Networks with Michael Gamarano, and Casting Networks with Ollie Powell and Emily Chase. What else I used to do? I can't remember, but yes, I love those.
Okay,
They're very good.
wicked. Amina has asked, are you still working, as you are still working, is there a sense within the industry of reopening with social distances? Like, what have you heard?
It was funny, there was an article yesterday on Screen Daily which said that film and TV productions are getting back up and running as long as they maintain the 2-meter rule. And apparently it feels like we've, because we can't work from home, actors and creatives, so we can effectively go back to work, but how can you set up especially we shoot in Wales, so how can you set up that environment where you've got actors who are 2 meters apart from each other? Yeah. So who knows? I don't know, but I'm sure guidelines will be coming out very soon about how the creative industries get to go back and start back up and function properly. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what the government says.
Yeah, well, they're saying something without saying anything at the moment, so let's hope for
no one knows what's going on. Not a clue.
And also, when is the third series of Sex Education meant to be starting filming?
We were due to start on the 30th of April.
Oh my God.
Yeah, okay. So it's been and gone.
So, I mean, social distancing with something like that, that's going to be pretty impossible.
Yeah, but I suppose with sort of anything, unless people write something that's COVID-19 specific, it's going to be pretty difficult for any production. But I'm sure we'll be up and running. Well, I hope that we'll be up and running soon as an industry.
Yeah. Have you been sent many projects for perspective for you to work on that are COVID related?
Nothing at all.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, actually I did. A friend of mine was doing a sort of online sort of series about sex lives in lockdown, which I helped with a few ideas. So that'll be coming out soon, which just sounds amazing. But otherwise, no, nothing at all. But I wasn't going to take anything else on while I had these two going on, because I tried to give them as much of my attention as possible and not drive myself crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well, like the content that comes out over the next few months, how similar or how different and how they look.
Yeah, absolutely. We were all saying that, funny enough, just even about the soaps and whether they'll reference it and how long it will. Yeah. It's a funny one, but yeah, it's so unknown at the moment. It's a crazy time.
Crazy time. Daniel Amiti has asked, could you explain the process when you're casting smaller roles? He said walk-on roles, but like, would you cast a walk-on role?
I don't cast the supporting artists, but we do cast anyone, usually who has a line. And they're so difficult for us to cast and for actors to come in and read for, because you get so little context as an actor for a one-line role. But we just tend to try a few different variations in the room. And it's the same approach because all roles are sort of integral or as important and have a very specific brief. So yeah, it's a very similar approach, but I try to do as many varieties as we can in the room, so that if the director says, oh, well, I was looking for this, we're like, bam, there's that version.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So Natalie Lauren Woodward has asked, what can we as actors do to make your job finding us a bit easier?
Ooh, good one. Prep the scenes really well, sort of know it really well, but don't become too rigid in your approach that you can't change it up if I ask you to do an alternative version. I think that's mostly what it is. Or if you haven't got time to prep, but you can still sight read it really well, then that's fine. I think that's my main thing. It's hard sometimes when you know that someone's got the ability to give you a really good tape, but because they can't seem to look at from their script, you can't get enough from them. So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah. Do you like an actor to be quite well researched on the director and yourself and the producer?
No, I don't really mind. I don't mind that at all. I think it's more about what they bring in the room, because sometimes we don't give, for whatever reason, we can't give an actor bags of time. So I don't expect them to have researched the project, all the crew, the sort of the creatives, and learned it, and fine-tuned their approach to it with maybe less than 24 hours notice. So no, that's all good.
Okay, that's lovely to hear. Rebecca Lightburn has asked, hello, do you have any advice for 2020 grads who have had their showcases cancelled?
Oh, I feel so awful for the grads this year. It's so unfair and it's so far from what they deserve. But I think a few members of the CDG have collated together all the grads. So the casting directors have access to every single person and their virtual monologues or showcases that can refer to. And sometimes if people have been signed, we've been asked to send some general scenes to give them feedback and things like that. I think just do as much as you can from home in terms of doing self-tapes or emailing out if you're not represented. And just keep yourselves as motivated as you possibly can.
Do you think it's a good time for actors then to be getting in touch with casting directors? So like, do you have more time to go through those emails at the moment, or is it just...
No, I have less because of my circumstance at home, whereas others possibly will have more if they don't have a partner who's working full time or whatever their circumstance is. So now is a good time as any, and you don't lose anything by sending something out. And if by chance your face seems to fit a brief they have at this moment, then bingo.
Yeah, great. This ties in with what Priya B has just asked. If we've previously auditioned for you before, do you keep previously auditioned actors in mind for future projects?
Yes, I keep all my tapes from everyone who's ever met. Because if their name comes up and I think, I know that person, let me look. And I look up to see what my note is on that person and to watch the tape as well to know if I want to bring them back in or whether they feel right moving forward. But yeah, I definitely tend to bring people back in I know are good, people I like, people I trust, but also very happy to explore new options as well.
Cool. And Brian has asked, when they are reaching out to you in an email, is there anything that they can write which sparks your interest? So in their covering letter, is there anything that, I don't know, what's a good way to write a covering letter maybe, Isabel?
Tell me about their cats. Send me a photo of their cats. I love stuff like that. I suppose it's just, things sometimes stand out, not always for the right reasons, but, they sort of make you give them your attention. But I think it's just it being sort of brief, clear, concise. This is my name, this is where I'm from, and this is what I'd like to show you. Please do keep me in mind. Or if you've heard about a specific brief that you think you're right for, then also include that. I think when it starts to become a life story, and then you're like, yeah, it's all a bit mad.
Yeah. You do realise though, by saying that, you're probably going to get 1,000 cat photos in the next
I will be thrilled. There was one girl, bless her, from Spotlight 1-to-1, and she kept on emailing saying, keep me up to date because her cat was pregnant. And I was like, has your cat given birth? Not yet. And then she finally did. It was very cute.
Oh my god, I would not want to deal with a pregnant cat right now in my house.
Oh my god. Oh, I'd be thrilled.
Have you got a cat?
I do have a cat.
Okay, good. At
I
least
love him, but he's not really mine. I don't even know how old he is or what his real name is, but he came to us about 5 years ago and we kept him. And then we moved house in September and we took him with us and he stayed. Oh, he's so lush. But we've got no idea what his name is or how old he is or where he's even from.
Are you actually trying to tell me you've stolen a cat? Is that?
Yes, and it's not my first. Because in my last house, another 2 cats used to come to my house and I had them, so I had 3. But when I knew where they lived, so when I left, I had to sort of give them back to their owners. But this one, he was up for grabs, so I took him. And my friends always tell me, you steal people's cats. It's like, yeah, so.
Yeah, but also you're obviously a cat whisperer, so they want to be around you.
Exactly, and the cats choose their owners, so he has chosen me.
Exactly. I wonder if you can say that about dogs, because I feel like my dog hasn't chosen me. I'm annoying the hell out of him at the moment.
Oh, well, send him round to me.
Okay, I've got 2 questions from Tahia. I'll ask you the first one first. Does anything like using costume or prop grab your attention in audition? Do you like actors to dress for a role when they come in?
Not dress necessarily as in like a full costume, but a nod to it is always good. A nod maybe to the era, but I find sometimes if someone comes in full costume, I can't get past it. It feels a bit, because also if your interpretation of it feels a little bit off, then you'll come in and it will just throw the entire scene. So I think a nod to it is good. If you were coming in for someone that was, I don't know, a lawyer or something, or an office-based person, it'd be good to come in a suit or a shirt and something like that, and well-groomed hair, sort of nice and slicked back. But otherwise, props and things like that tend to distract sometimes, especially because you have so little to work with. Yeah. That if you come in with, I don't know, a harpoon or something, you'd be like, oh gosh, that's really thrown me off.
And I'm scared also.
Yeah, what is that? Not that I love miming, but sometimes it's great. I remember when Raki Thakra auditioned for Miss Sam's in Sex Ed, we gave her this scene where she was eating, and it was amazing. She brought in a sandwich and it just worked so perfectly, where she had all these awkward moments where she'd be chewing and couldn't speak. So I think you can sort of sense it, and that comes with more prep. You can work out, and people will say, oh, I've got this, do you mind? And you can say yes or no then.
Yeah, great. Somebody else has asked, how do you implement diversity into your castings?
I think it's just making sure that there are no limitations on the ethnicity per role, unless it warrants it in the script. So for example, in Sex Ed, Eric was written as Black because a massive part of his storyline is his heritage and his struggle with that, and his sexuality and his relationship with his dad. But then everyone else was open, and it's making sure that everyone else has the opportunity, and that you're sort of throwing the net very wide, and you're seeing a big range of people and then trying to piece it together so that it looks inclusive and reflective of our sort of culture. And yeah, I think it's just making sure that you see enough people and you don't limit yourselves.
Yeah. Bertie has asked, what tips do you have for actors without representation for getting into the casting room?
I've always found this a really difficult question because I don't really know. I suppose it's relying on things like Backstage and sort of friends who might be represented, and word of mouth, and different publications that might publish auditions, or keeping up to date on IMDb to see, if you know someone's doing a series and it's sort of ongoing, you'll know that they'll probably cast the same time every year and they'll be looking for new people, and you'll see what projects are in development or what scripts have been optioned, and you can try then and send your emails around to different casting offices as well. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise I don't know how you sort of penetrate that world without someone who's pushing forward for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's
difficult.
It's a difficult question. But yeah, like you say, you just have to be across everything and making sure that you're giving yourself the most opportunities for you to go to it rather than it come to you, because
Absolutely. And I think actors are incredibly supportive, and no one seems to be very secretive with what they have, because we get a lot of emails saying, oh, my client's friend is in for this role and he wants to be seen as well. So it's just the sharing of information, which is really good.
Yeah, great. Anna Hearn has asked, what annoys you the most in auditions?
What annoys me the most? I don't know. What does annoy me? Nothing really. I love the audition process in the room. I think what annoys me is when I know someone's really good.
Yeah.
And they just don't prep. And you think, oh, what a wasted opportunity. I hate that. And also when someone comes in and looks nothing like their headshot. And it could be a totally different person. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, that's insane.
So keep those up. Somebody did have a question actually about hairdos. So David Radon asked, I have a beard that I have grown with longer hair for a production. People suggested to keep it. Is a beard a useful thing to keep for a man, or does it put casting directors off assuming it can't be cut? Many roles want clean shaven.
It all depends on how attached you are to that beard. We always ask the question, would you be willing to get rid of it? Or if you're coming in for a role that you could never, a sort of period role where you wouldn't have a beard, then we'd probably ask you to come in clean shaven. If you're happy to shave it for the audition, if you're asked to, then that's great. But if you're saying, oh no, I'd like to keep this, then you might not necessarily be right for everything. So it all depends. It depends on how you want to go moving forward as well. If you're going to keep that beard long term, then make that your main picture. But if it's just something that you can do, but you prefer to be clean shaven, then make it one of the smaller ones.
Yeah. And
keep your main headshot as a clean shaven one.
Yeah.
But we get that hair grows and cuts. That's fine.
Absolutely. Chaz Sherman has asked about getting feedback from auditions. So knowing that as actors we shouldn't dwell over a single audition, at what point should actors seek feedback if they aren't booking roles?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to be asked for feedback after any audition. And if I can give it, I definitely will. It all depends on how much you've got on at that point. And it also depends on how many people you've seen for that role. If I've seen 100 people and I get 100 people asking for feedback, that's going to be more difficult than me giving feedback for 10 people. But I'm always happy to give it if they feel like it will help them with their next audition or just help them with their confidence. So that's absolutely fine. But maybe if they don't get a response, it's not because we don't want to give it, it's just workload and trying to manage that.
Yeah. Talking of workload, Anna has asked, do you have any tips for anyone who's looking to get into casting?
Ooh, yeah. Watch lots of TV and film and get to know actors. When I first got into casting, I didn't know anyone. I only knew, Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman and Tom Hanks and, the big actors. I didn't know the names of the people I was watching on terrestrial telly. So it's about watching them and sort of finding out the people you like and the reasons why you like them, or the shows that you like and why you like them, because that will start to develop your taste and opinions and all that sort of stuff. And it's taken me years to be confident in my tastes. And I always thought I'll never get to that point where I actually know if I think an actor is good. And others might not think the same, but I remember being like, are they good? I don't know. Do I like them? I don't know. And I'm the same now with scripts. Is that good? I don't know. But it's just trying to sort of just find confidence in yourself saying, well, I like them. That's fine. You might not, but I think they're really good.
Yeah. And can they get how can they get work experience? So you emailed everyone from contacts and you worked with Kate initially.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like right now, if you were looking for somebody to help you, how could they reach out to you? Is it the same as actors just emailing you?
Absolutely, yeah. So just email in with your CV just to say, Either I'm looking to get some experience, or I've been working with so-and-so and here's my CV, and we always keep it on file. And then we also share information because other casting directors will always email and say, have you had someone who's worked for you recently? Were they good? Or can I have their email address, or can you give them a call, and blah, blah, blah. Because it depends on how much work you have, that you might need to take someone on for a little bit of time. And yeah, so yeah, please do email me.
There's also the NFTs have just started. I don't know if it's starting in September, but they've started a casting course, which is fine, right?
Yeah, is that with Gina J and Shaheen Baig?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah, that is a high recommendation.
Mm.
So we're going to be closing in a sec. I just wondered if you had any tips. It doesn't need to be specifically for actors, but just for anyone. Like, how are you staying sane and creative at the moment?
I'm actually trying just to watch, because I don't get a lot of time to watch TV. So I'm really enjoying that. Did anybody watch Normal People?
Oh my God, please.
Good God, so good. So I'm just enjoying doing that and watching things, or things that have been on my list for a long time, which I feel is keeping me creative, because especially with this job, you can't watch TV without thinking of actors, or, you know, critiquing it, or all those terrible things that we do. And what else am I doing? Listening to podcasts. And also for me, trying to stay sane, just trying to get a bit fresh air. I think that just helps.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just stepping away from the screen, which is also quite good. Because that's all we can do at the minute, is just be on researching, Googling, contacting, emailing. I'm just trying to step away where possible and either attempt to bake or attempt to craft with my toddler. Neither of which are successful, but, you know, just to put your mind to something else is also quite good, rather than feel like you have to be pushing forward with your sort of career for now, because this is just an insane time and there's only so much we can do, but we have to make sure that we're keeping ourselves, you know, happy and calm and content, so that we're ready to pick up when the time is right.
Yeah, and there's so much, like, obviously we're on a Backstage thing right now. Backstage are putting out so much content, and there's so many other opportunities for actors at the moment, but like, don't feel like you have to be over absolutely everything. There's like, that pressure is not existent. It doesn't need to be there.
Absolutely not. And I think it's good sometimes, just and this is in sort of everyday life, you don't have to live and breathe this. And I always think when actors come, when you do that walk from the sort of waiting room to the casting space, it doesn't have to be about, we don't need to talk about the casting session or the show. We can talk about cats or life or your gran or anything, because also there is life beyond this as well.
Yeah, definitely. One more question for you. So you're obviously watching Normal People, but what else are you watching at the minute?
What else have I watched? I've watched Tiger King.
Yeah.
Great. Feel Good on Channel 4.
Ooh,
that was really good. In My Skin, BBC, both cast by Rachel Sheridan, who's amazing. What else have I watched? I've watched loads of crime documentaries on Netflix. I'm really into that. That was really good. How to Fix a Drug Scandal was one. What else have I watched? And then just going through, I've just got Disney Plus. So I watched 3 Men and a Baby, 3 Men and a Little Lady, Tangled.
Nice, yes.
What else? Little Mermaid, Finding Dory, Finding Nemo, all the classics, basically.
Amazing. And I suppose when you're watching your true crime stuff on Netflix, that's probably the only time you're able to go, it's fine, I don't need to know who these actors are. I don't need to know who they are.
You've got to have a good mix. So I really want to follow what's on, because that's part of work. But also I really want to switch off sometimes and just watch, you know, The Hills reboot, or a couple of clips of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you know, because it's just so far removed from everyday life, which is what we need sometimes. Maybe that's my self-care. That's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely mine. Going a little bit brain dead in front of some trash is absolutely
great.
Amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough for today.
Thank you.
We covered loads actually. That was really fast with the questions. So thanks for keeping up and actually, yeah, it was amazing. Guys, so Lauren, you're on Twitter, right?
Yes, although I don't know how to use it, which is why I don't do anything on there, because I've got no idea what to do with it.
So give it a whirl. If do you put anything anywhere that is public that people would be able to follow you on?
Yeah, I'm public on there, and you can message me on there. And I think through a few briefs, what I put out recently, there's an office email address on there as well. So have a look at that. But I'm just terrible at it, because when I tried it before, I used to comment on the wrong thing, and it just all got very confusing. But I will try to be better.
That's what my dad's like on Facebook. He'll just comment on people's pictures thinking he's talking to me. Dad, that's not how you use it.
I'm very similar. So
oh, what's your Twitter handle? That would be helpful.
It's at Lauren D. Evans.
Lauren D.
Very Welsh.
Very, very Welsh. And I am at Hannah Caston on Twitter. Backstage is at Backstage. Backstage's Instagram is at BackstageCast. And as I mentioned earlier, there's so much stuff that's going out at the moment with Backstage. So keep an eye on the website and keep an eye on their social media, because they'll be posting lots of stuff out to tell you what's coming up. And we've got loads coming up. And if you've enjoyed today, hopefully you have got something interesting and some good advice out of it. You can always tweet us at Backstage and mention Lauren and myself. It's always lovely to see your messages afterwards, because there's so many of you. I'd love to be able to talk to you all, but we can't. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, everyone, for coming along. It's very nice of you.
We held strong there at 300 people as well, so that's 300 people watching your work.
I feel like a celebrity.
You're such a celeb. Such a celeb. I'm about to leave now, and I'm going to send you a cat photo.
Oh, thank you so much. Please, everyone send them. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.